So it's just going to be kind of informal, and we'll start off with what today's date is, just so it'll be on the video. Today's date is May 14th of 2015, and I've been wanting to ask you a bunch of questions anyway for a while, for years, and get it down on paper or get it on video or something. So no reason why today, just that it's a good time to do it since we're spending some time together today. But first of all, when were you born?
I was born in 1930, May the 27th.
May 27th, 1930. Cool. Where at?
Court, Kentucky.
Just get some general questions out of the way here, I guess. Okay, what is your favorite type of music that you like to listen to?
Gospel.
Gospel. And what is your favorite color? Do you have a favorite color?
Probably blue.
Okay.
No, I don't really have a favorite, but I kind of lean to that one a little bit.
Would that be UK blue?
Oh, I never thought about it, but it could be, couldn't it?
Yeah. What is your favorite gospel song?
Probably Amazing Grace.
Okay. Amazing Grace. Do you have any certain artists that you have really enjoyed listening to sing Amazing Grace?
You know, this might be a little interesting, but I never thought that I would like anything of, what is his name? I can't think. It had all the rock and roll stuff going back in you guys when you were raised up.
Elvis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never thought I cared much about him, and one day I walked into the house and Amazing Grace was being sung on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, boy, that is beautiful. I don't know who that is, but he can sure sing. And my wife said, well, you wouldn't believe it, but that's Elvis Presley.
He could sing some really good gospel songs.
Oh, that was beautiful.
What is your favorite activity to do?
Activity?
Yeah.
Such as a hobby or something like that?
Well,
or?
just anything like on a lazy summer day. What would you like to be doing?
Fishing.
Fishing. All right.
Yeah.
Are you talking about fishing wanting to catch fish, or fishing just to relax?
The fishing, hope I don't get a bite so I don't have to take it off the hook.
Okay. How long have you lived here in this house?
Let's see. We built this house in 1976. Moved in January of 1977.
Awesome. And let's go back to some of your first memories as a child. Are there any that stand out?
Oh yeah, there are some. Probably my first memory, and this is kind of silly, but my mom ordered a baseball suit for me from Montgomery Ward, and I was so proud of that. That's the first thing I can remember. I don't know how old I was, maybe 4 or 5.
Did it have a baseball team name on it?
Yeah, it did. I don't remember the name, but it did, right above the pocket here.
Okay. And you were probably how old at that time?
Maybe 4 or 5,
4 or 5.
somewhere around that, I'd say.
So back then they didn't have all these nice washing machines and the fancy bleaches that they have now, the color bleaches and all that. How did she get your grass stains out of it?
Probably with lye soap that she had made.
Oh, okay. She made lye soap.
Yeah.
Was that the only thing she used lye soap for?
No, she used lye soap for washing the clothes and for shampoo. Probably other things I can't remember, but it was sort of a cure-all for everything you had, I guess.
Was it in bar form or was it in powder form?
No, it was bar.
In a bar? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you made lye soap when we were kids, when we were in school. You made lye soap out here in a black kettle over a fire.
Yeah.
Do you remember how your mom made lye soap?
Well, not for sure, but she didn't make her own lye, which people before my time probably did from ashes.
Mm-hmm.
But she bought her lye. But I can't remember what she put in it. It was lye and maybe grease. I think that went in it, yeah.
Okay.
Then she boiled that and then poured it out in a pan where it was only about 2 inches thick and let it harden. And then she would cut that into bars.
Okay. Where do you remember her doing that? I mean, was it in their house in Cork, or
No, it was in the old farmhouse.
okay, which was close to there? No, it was down on Joe Acree Road.
Yeah.
That house.
Right.
Okay. For when you were a child, to take up your time to play when you were a kid, what did you do? I mean, you didn't have video games, obviously.
No.
You probably didn't even have electricity at that point, did
Not
you?
at that point, no.
So,
I remember the day we got electricity. No, some of the things we did would be awfully hard to get a young kid to do these days. But if we had an old automobile tire, we just thought that was something else. We rolled that thing everywhere. And then we had another toy that we used, and it was a rim off of an old wagon wheel. It was about probably 10 or 12 inches in diameter, metal. And then we'd find a can somewhere that we could beat out and make a little trough in it and nail that to a tobacco stick, and then we would use that on that rim and just go everywhere with it.
just roll it around?
Roll it around, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we lived about half mile from Cork, I guess, something like that. And we'd go every day to get the mail. And a lot of the time we'd take those things with us.
So you had to walk to Cork to get your mail?
Yeah, we walked.
Okay. So were you barefooted or did you wear shoes?
We wore barefooted just as soon as it got warm enough that we could.
So that was something you enjoyed doing?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay. But then when it got cold, you put on boots or
yeah.
shoes?
We had to wear shoes when it got cold.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the day that you all got electricity in your house.
I was 10 years old in 1940, and I know when they hooked it up, I remember seeing a guy climb a pole with a transmitter, or with a transformer.
Uh-huh.
Put the transformer on the pole and then ran a line to the house And it was getting kind of late, but he had it all ready for lights that night. And we couldn't believe the light we had. It was just unbelievable.
Really bright, huh?
Oh, yeah. Compared to a kerosene lamp.
Did you have a light in every room?
Yeah, it was light in every room. In the ceiling.
Uh-huh. Was it a light bulb hanging down from a wire, or was it like attached to the ceiling? Like
Attached to the ceiling. It was about
Okay.
like they are today, in a shop or something. No such thing as fluorescence back then.
Right. Did you
Or
have
if
a
there
light?
was, we didn't know about it.
How did you turn the light off and on?
With a string
Okay.
pulled down from the ceiling.
Very good. So when you got electricity, was light bulbs the only thing that you had installed into your home?
Yeah, that was the only thing. When we first got it, but later on they bought a few things. I think the very first electrical appliance that Mom had was an iron.
An iron.
She was really proud of that.
So when they ran electricity into y'all's house, did they put in electrical outlets also to plug things into, or?
There were some, yeah, not
Okay.
very many, but there was one. Let's see, one in the kitchen, I think, and there might have been one in the living room. I can't remember, but that would have been about it. 2 or 3.
Okay. So it was all 110 back then.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Did you have a fuse box?
Yeah, it had a fuse box. Yeah.
Okay.
Fuse box on the inside and a meter on the outside.
Were they the fuses you screwed in, like the glass ones?
Yeah.
Or okay.
And Dad watched that meter. And back then you could use 40 kilowatts a month. And that cost them $2.50.
Woo.
And I'm pretty sure those figures are right, almost certain.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it got up near the end of the month, if we were nearing 40 kilowatts, Dad would turn off the electricity.
You'd shut it down, huh?
Shut it down.
What if your mom was ironing at that point? What if she was ironing with her?
Well, she'd have to go back to her old irons that she heated on the stove.
Did she ever get upset at your dad for doing that?
She probably did, but I never saw it.
Oh, okay.
I can imagine that she did.
How was your mode of travel back then? I mean, what kind of did you travel in a car, or did you use a horse back then, or?
Now, we had an old car. Well, it wasn't real old, I guess. It was a 1930 Chevrolet. If we had to go to town, which was a big trip for us, then we went in that.
I guess back then you could get cars in any color that you wanted as long as they were black. Is that right?
Yeah, as long as they were black. That's about right. You never saw anything else.
So did you ever go to, or do you remember visiting your grandparents?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure do.
Who were your grandparents?
Elam and Kitty Romines
Okay.
on my mother's side. And then James and, what was her name? Grandma, I guess. That's what we called her. Nancy.
Nancy,
That
okay.
was her first name, yeah.
And that would be, what were their last names?
Acree.
Acree on that side, okay.
Now, my grandma died when I was, the day that I was 7 years old. So I don't remember a lot about her.
And that was Nan or Nancy?
Yeah.
Um, your parents' names are?
Sherman and Flora Acree.
Okay. And so you knew your grandparents. Did you know your great-grandparents?
No,
Okay.
no. My great grandparents on both sides had passed away long before that.
What about aunts or uncles?
Yeah, I had lots of both.
Okay, let's say on the Acree side. We'll start with that.
Acree, you want me to name them? I don't know if I could or not. Let's see. I won't put uncle or aunt in there. I'll just tell you their name.
That's fine.
Lauren, Jasper, Paul, Betty, Helen, it was more than that. Bruce. Uncle Bruce lived in Wisconsin, so never saw much of him.
Okay.
Let's see, I guess I got them all. That's all I can think of.
6? 6 of them?
Let's see, Lauren, Jasper. Well, Dad add him to it.
Oh yeah, 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah. What about the Romine side?
Romine side, I had 2 uncles and an aunt.
Okay.
The uncles were Louis Romines and Leaper Romines, and my aunt was Aunt Clarice.
Okay.
Clarice passed away with TB when she was in her early 20s.
I know there was a short time there when Sue Romines was your boss, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we kin to Sue? Are we kin to her?
Well, through marriage we are.
Right.
She married Uncle Henry's son, Burns.
Okay. Okay.
Now, Uncle Henry, we called him. He wasn't actually our uncle. He was my mom's uncle.
So back then, do you remember going on very many long trips? Or what would be considered a long trip?
Glasgow.
Glasgow? How long would it take you to get there? Do you remember?
No, probably close to an hour. I don't know. We make that trip maybe twice a year.
Wow. Do you remember going on any really long trips?
No.
So it was either...
Not while I was a child.
Right. So it was either Edmonton or Glasgow.
Yeah. Either one. But the Glasgow, that was a big trip.
Did you hit Blacktop on that one?
In the city, I remember the smell of the blacktop, and that was city to me.
Right.
And we had doctors there, and a hospital. I can remember a doctor, Dr. Edwards. He was in a second floor office on the square. And I had a blood mole, they called it, hanging down underneath my eye, and it was just kind of growing, getting larger.
Uh-huh.
And he burned that off.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
Yeah, I remember looking out the window, looking down on top of the cars, as going around the square.
Uh-huh. That must have been interesting for you back then to see that.
Big city, yeah.
Big city of Glasgow. Well, back then, that's all that it was the square, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's probably about all it was. Yeah.
What about Edmonton? Did they have blacktop roads through there at that time, or?
Uh, they surely did. I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. Speaking of Edmonton, when would you consider Edmonton to have its biggest bustling business, as far as what year or what section of years? Would you think that they're better now as far as business wise, people knowing Edmonton, so they come to Edmonton to do business? Or do you think that they had more of a heyday back in the 50s or whenever?
Well, of course, there's more businesses in Edmonton now, quite a bit more. It probably tripled since back up in those days. The only businesses were around the square. That I don't. I remember in the early '50s, Edmonton had 2 theaters. They had 2 skating rinks,
Wow.
and they had 3 new car dealers.
And that was in the town of Edmonton?
Yeah, yeah. And let's see, that's I'm trying to think, but one of those skating rinks was it was very small. The building's still there. It's Berkman Feed now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the other one must have been the one out on Glasgow Road.
Jeans?
Yeah,
Jeans skating rink?
yeah.
And what about the theaters? Where were they? Do you remember?
One theater was on the upper side of the square, and let's see, it was called the Swan. And then the other one was right across from where I used to work, the Medcay Furniture Store. It's a church now. That building is still there.
Okay. Is that the same one where Dr. Isacco?
Yeah.
Where
same,
he used to
same
be?
building.
Okay. And across from that used to be a new car dealership, right?
Yeah, the Chevrolet car dealership. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's not. It's a building now, but the awning is gone, and
Yeah, all the front part there is gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's still the same basic building that it was back then.
okay.
And the Ford dealership was on the upper end of town. As you go out towards Tompkinsville, it was the last brick building on the left side of the road. It's Barn Lot Theater now.
Okay. Okay. So going back to your childhood, what age were you when you first started school?
I was 7.
7 years old.
Uh-huh.
And you rode the bus to school?
No, we didn't have any buses. We walked to school.
Okay. And how far was it? Just right down the street, or
No, it was about 3 miles.
3 miles?
Yeah.
And you walked on a nice paved sidewalk all the way?
Wasn't no such things as paved sidewalks. It was gravel. I mean, when you got to what we call the big road, it was gravel.
Okay.
And then we walked down a path to get to the road.
Okay. So the path was just out through fields?
Yeah.
Pastures, or?
Yeah, we even had to climb a fence. Well, they made steps over it. Made steps where you could get over the fence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Was that a path that just you and your family used going to school? Or
No.
did several people use that
Yeah,
path?
several did.
Okay.
Of course, we were at the end of it, or the beginning of it, whichever way you want to look at it.
Right.
and then there's other kids along the way from there down to the big road.
So
Sometimes we walk together.
So when you got to your grade school, how big of a school was this?
You mean in students numbers?
Building.
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 It was, well, I couldn't tell you what size it was, but I could compare it to something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the old farmhouses used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mud Slash was the name of it.
Mud Slash
Yeah,
School.
Mud Slash. And it was down the road here a little ways. It just burned, about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. So were you separated as far as classes go, or
Yeah.
was it all one?
No, it was all in the same one room is all it was, First grade through the 8th grade was all together. A lot of people thought that was the best way to teach because the kids that were smart, they could listen to if they were in the first grade, they could listen to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on.
Was it all the same teacher, or did they change out teachers?
No, it was all the same teacher.
So when 8th grade was being taught, what did the 2nd grade child do? Just sit there and do separate homework?
Oh, yeah,
or?
they did homework, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was, because she would give them something to do, the teacher would.
So nowadays, in schools, there's a big thing going on now that, basically God has been kicked out of school, right? And prayer and things like that, according to state and government rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Back then, do you remember a schedule of events that you did during the school? So, for instance, when you first got to school, did you say the Pledge of Allegiance, or was there ever a prayer that was said during school? Was the Bible ever used as a textbook, or how did it go back then?
It was the first book we used when we got to school, and each one of us had to memorize a verse out of the Bible, and each one had to stand up and say his verse.
Really? In a public school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another thing, when they had a revival out at Foundation Church, she would march us out there like a army sergeant marching his troops, and we'd walk that distance, and what is it, 2 miles?
It probably is, yeah, about 2 miles.
Yeah. That was something. We'd have to go to that revival.
So that revival, would it be during the daytime, or?
Yeah, during the daytime.
Okay. So,
That didn't happen every day, of course.
oh no. What about the Pledge of Allegiance? Did you do that too? Did you say that too, or?
Yeah, in later years we did.
Okay.
I don't think the young kids were required to say that, if I remember right.
Okay. Did you ever have to raise or lower the flag?
No, we didn't have a flag.
Okay. What about the inside of the schoolhouse? Did you have a chalkboard up in the front of the class?
Yeah, big chalkboard went all the way across the front.
Okay. So they could probably divide that up into different classes too, couldn't they? I don't know that they did or not, but
I don't remember them doing that. She started out teaching from the 1st grade and then went on up through the 8th grade, but I think she erased the board after each class, if I remember right. We did have a recess in the morning and one in the afternoon.
So did you go to the cafeteria for lunch?
We carried our lunch if we eat. Joey, I remember carrying my lunch, and Mom would just about always put a biscuit and sausage sandwich in them.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 2 or 3 kids that used what we called light bread back then. And we were ashamed of our biscuits, so we'd get behind a tree where they couldn't see us.
Oh.
Hadn't that changed?
Yeah.
Works the other way now,
It's the
don't
other
it?
way around now. That's right. I guess if you were able to buy light bread, then you had a little bit more money than others, huh?
Yeah,
The
yeah, that's
family.
what we thought, yeah.
Right.
But we had a store right across from the high school, across the road from the high school. And
Oh.
she would let us go up there during our lunch period if we wanted to.
Was that Jeannie Hughes's store?
No, no.
What turned into that?
No, that was Bessie Amos.
Bessie Amos.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much across the road from Mudslash?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it just a general country store?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a general country store. And the other store, the one you just mentioned, was just up the road a ways from that.
Mm-hmm.
But she wouldn't let us go up there. That's too far.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Is there anything else that you can think of that was really different about going to a single or to a one-room schoolhouse?
What?
Heating system or the flooring or just anything?
Well, we had no electricity, and we had wood stove. And the floor was oiled, if you know what I mean.
With like motor oil?
Well, I think that must have been what it was, because when we got to do away with our shoes during the summer, we all come to school barefooted. Well, maybe not all of us, but most of us.
Uh-huh.
And you walk around on that oil floor, and your feet would just be black as they could be.
So you had wood heat, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have coal heat?
No, it was always wood.
Always wood. Okay.
And we had a outhouse for boys and an outhouse for girls.
Okay. What about books or pencils or tablets? Did you have to take all that to school with you, or was that provided? Or
No, we had to take that with us. Well, the books were provided,
okay,
but the pencils and paper we had to provide.
okay. So once you got to 8th grade, did you graduate or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went from there then to high school, right?
That's right.
And where did you go to high school at?
Edmonton High School. When I graduated from the 8th grade, I was the only one in it.
So a graduating class of 1.
Yeah.
So how did you get to the Edmonton High School?
We had buses. If memory serves me correctly, we had 3 buses. And we would walk down to the big road
Mm-hmm.
and catch the bus.